Girlfriend keeps buying new lingerie while her old ones mysteriously vanish, and I'm unsure if it's all a red flag. Over the last 2.5 weeks, I've watched my girlfriend go on this insane lingerie shopping spree. She's bought close to 9 new pairs. Normally, that wouldn't bother me much, but what's odd is that she picked up 7 new pairs just earlier in April. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for a woman treating herself, but this sudden spree is out of character. In fact, she's somehow amassed nearly 40 new pairs, and yet the number in our closet keeps dropping. Every few days, a couple disappear. I handle the trash every single day, and I know she hasn't tossed out her old lingerie. That's what really caught my attention. There's no trace of any worn out or discarded pairs in the bins or around our place. Still, when I count what's left in our shared closet, 4 or 5 sets have simply vanished. What really messes with my head is how normal she's been acting through all this. She sticks to her routine without missing a beat, nothing in her mood or her daily habits has changed. But it nags at me, trying to figure out why she's suddenly on this lingerie buying spree. It's not like she's hoarding them, since the overall total never seems to change. It's like she's replacing her collection piece by piece, but only I seem to notice that the old ones are slipping away, and the new ones are slipping in. No matter how I turn it over in my mind, I can't make sense of it. Is there something bigger going on, or am I just being completely paranoid? Update 1. While driving with her, I brought it up directly, I just had to know. She told me she's been feeling uncomfortable in her underwear at work lately, both old pairs and new ones. She explained that she's made this new rule for herself: if any pair of underwear feels incredibly uncomfortable, she tosses it out right away, no hesitation. Trying to keep things light and conversational, I mentioned I hadn't noticed any extra underwear in our trash at home. She laughed and said that since we spend most of our daytime at work, she just throws them away in her workplace bin and simply carries a spare change of underwear with her, just like most women do, as she put it. I couldn't resist joking, "Oh, I was worried you were selling your undies on eBay or something." She responded immediately with an "you," shutting that down right away. I'm honestly wondering, do women really do this? Just get rid of uncomfortable underwear at work if it becomes unbearable? I guess I'm still pretty new to living with a girlfriend. This is the first time I've moved in with someone I'm in a relationship with, and we only moved together at the start of this year. I'm just trying to make sense of it all. She's been pretty straightforward about tossing anything uncomfortable at work and hasn't shown any signs of having some secret fetish or selling them online. So, I suppose that's all there is to it, but I can't help turning it over in my mind. Update 2. I've been glued to my phone all morning, fingers twitching with nerves, except for the brief drive back home. It took me so much self-convincing just to follow up on this uneasy hunch, this nagging feeling that maybe my girlfriend was selling her lingerie online. At our place, we have this little system, an archive spot for open mail, receipts, bills, and all the standard important documents. Everything, really, except for the truly personal stuff like our social security cards and such. This morning, I found 6 receipts in total, 2 from Victoria's Secret, 3 from Target, and 1 from Macy's. When I started adding up numbers, things suddenly seemed off. By my rough count, she's amassed about 28 to 30 pairs of new lingerie just recently, including one that dates back to the beginning of April. What struck me as odd was that 2 of these receipts had Karen's name on them, Karen, my girlfriend's older sister. I found that weird at first, but then remembered Karen has some kind of rewards card with Victoria's Secret, so it sort of clicked. Still, that only covers about 40% of these new purchases. Up until now, I'd always assumed she had maybe 15 new pairs, give or take. Now, staring at the stack of receipts in my hand, I realized I was way off. Every instinct in me wanted to dig deeper. But I didn't want to invade her privacy by checking her bank statements. That, I told myself, would definitely be crossing a line. Still, I kept circling back to the numbers. Over $1,100 spent on lingerie in just the past 45 days. That is so wildly out of character for her, it's like I've stepped into some strange new chapter of our lives. What makes it even more unsettling is that she didn't use our red card at Target, even though we both have the Target app on our phones. Why wouldn't she? That little detail kept spinning in my mind, pushing me closer to answers I might not want to find. So now I'm calling my brother over. Sometimes you just need another head, someone with distance from it all, to help shed light on the weirdness. But the temptation to just log into her laptop, to scroll through her browsing history and confirm whether my fears are founded, is gnawing at me. I'm frozen. Completely numb and stuck between not wanting to trespass, and needing to know what's going on in my own home. Update 3. You ever have one of those days where the world just comes crashing down on you? This was one of those for me. I skipped my lunch break call, thinking it would be better to talk to my girlfriend when she got back home. In the meantime, I chatted with Karen and her mom to make sure my girlfriend wasn't in some kind of financial mess or some other trouble. I was just trying to get ahead of any disasters, totally unaware that the real disaster was about to hit me straight in the face. All it took was one brutal truth to tear it all apart. Turns out, my girlfriend saw a post I made at work and instantly knew it was me. I hadn't even remotely considered that she'd stumble across it, let alone connect the dots in one glance. Her entire day unraveled from there. About 4 hours ago, my girlfriend just broke down and confessed. She had been sleeping with some guy she met at her work gym since the beginning of March. I can't even begin to describe how that felt. She met him around 8 months ago at her workplace gym, but he doesn't even work with her. He's at another startup, in a completely different building in the same corporate park. She told me things had started heating up in late February, after one random afternoon. I honestly thought she'd stopped going to the gym after she got promoted back in November because her schedule was so hectic. But no. She kept going all along, and I never questioned it. After she started sleeping with this guy, she told her coworkers she'd switched to a gym across the street. Somehow, I never thought to even ask where they hooked up. And then there's the missing underwear. God, it's so twisted. She started buying new underwear and throwing out the old as some kind of sick guilt ritual. She said she just couldn't shake the feeling of wearing the same underwear in bed with me that she'd worn hours earlier with that idiot. The sheer disgust of that, it's like being punched in the gut. Who does that? Who throws away their underwear just to dust off the guilt from sleeping with some guy you barely even know? I was completely frozen for a moment, but I held it together, at least on the outside. She tried to explain herself. Said she backed away from him a week ago, that she'd been confused. But I don't believe that. I don't even want to believe any of it. Turns out, the whole tossing her underwear at work was just a blatant excuse, because she panicked and didn't know how to explain herself when I first noticed. There I was, worrying all day about what could be going on, and this is what it turned out to be. Karen came back, and we were both just numb from the whole conversation. I couldn't even wait after she arrived. I walked right out of the apartment. Even Karen was stunned by what she'd heard. After I left, Karen called to check in on me. Eventually, I managed to gather my thoughts and call my brother. I'm crashing at his place for now. I honestly don't even want to see my girlfriend's face again. How do people lie this well? How can someone be so cold, show zero emotion or discomfort while leading a double life? She slept with me hours after being with him. The throwing away of underwear, her way of getting over her guilt. I don't recognize her. When she said it was all carnal, I didn't even know she had it in her to sleep around for just physical satisfaction. She told me she still loves me, and that this was just something that made her feel good, like that's supposed to make it better. I have no idea how to even begin to process that. My thoughts are everywhere. There's a part of me that's desperate to see her again, just to make sure she's okay. And another part that never wants to see her again. I have 1,000 questions, but all I could do was avoid her by running downstairs the moment I had the chance. I had to ask my brother and his wife to pick up some of my stuff from home. This whole thing is completely messed up. My mind is spinning, and I don't know how I ended up here, tangled in the mess of someone else's secrets and guilt. Update 4. Today I took sick leave. After everything that happened, I just needed a break. I have to acknowledge how grateful I am for all the support I've received lately. People really do come through in unexpected ways. Without some of those unexpected words of encouragement, I would never have had the guts to actually talk to her about what was going on, nor would she have hurried back home to confront me about it after everything unraveled. Last night, I finally managed to get some rest. Right now, I'm staying at my brother's place, while she's with her sister, Karen. Late last night, Karen reached out and asked if we could meet at a coffee shop early this morning to talk things over. I agreed to meet her, not really knowing what to expect, but the conversation turned out to be more illuminating than I could have anticipated. Since my girlfriend had confided in Karen about what happened, I finally got to hear some of the reasons, or at least what she claims motivated her actions. Honestly, I don't think I even want to know who the guy is, or whether she was the one who initiated it or not. Just thinking about the specifics is agonizing. My mind keeps circling back to all kinds of questions that end up depressing the hell out of me. Should I have noticed how she managed to maintain her body even though she quit the gym late last year? Did I miss something obvious? Even now, I still can't wrap my head around what could make her impulsively sleep with a stranger and risk our entire relationship. Maybe at some point I'll need to understand those reasons before I can decide what to do next. I keep trying to think back and figure out if there were any red flags or textbook cheater behaviors that I missed. But it's so bizarre, she never showed any of those symptoms. No working late, no constant texting somebody in secret, nothing. Instead, she actually convinced her coworkers that she went to a gym across the street, rather than use the free one at her office. That fact alone is maddening. I doubt I would have suspected her of cheating, because she did so well hiding it. If I try to dig into what pushed her into bed with someone else, I'll just spiral further down the rabbit hole. Karen, for her part, admitted that she also couldn't make sense of my girlfriend's reasoning, that she would jeopardize our relationship for a fling with a total stranger. Then Karen dropped something I hadn't heard before. Apparently, when my girlfriend was a teenager, she cheated on a boyfriend back in high school, and things ended messy. I had no idea. We'd exchanged dating history stories when we got closer, but this had obviously been left out. Not that high school mistakes are definitive, but it surprised me to hear about that part of her past after all this time. I do have to say, Karen has always been sweet. When we first moved in together, she actually wrote each of us a heartfelt letter wishing us well. It's painfully ironic, given where we are now. Thinking back on our relationship, it's strange how little things can shape your perspective. I've always been a bit of a lurker online, checking out r/Apple or r/Macos, while my girlfriend loved scrolling through posts on r/Tukes chromosomes. Sometimes she'd share something she'd read and ask for my take, which would devolve into those small, silly couple conversations. I never imagined our real life would end up mirroring the kinds of stories people share online, becoming one of those relationship dilemmas for others to discuss over coffee. Regardless of all the hurt, in the last couple days I've realized how much I would have obsessed and agonized over her behavior without ever bringing it up, which would have just drawn out my own misery. Nobody tells you what boundaries to set when you move in with someone for the first time, you have to learn as you go. Looking back, maybe I should have checked in with her more often to see if something was bothering her, especially at work. Living with a partner for the first time is this odd mixture of awkwardness and wonder, and I think I missed the memo about prioritizing each other's emotional well-being above all else. Let this be my hard-learned lesson to anyone listening: don't forget to ask your partner if something's bothering them, even if it feels silly. I was so focused on making sure we kept things running smoothly that I lost sight of simply being present for her, of listening just to listen. If I'm being honest, I always figured we might end up getting a little bored with each other one day after years had passed, maybe buying candles or finding little ways to spice things up. But not this, not betrayal. Before we moved in, after she got promoted, I remember thinking she needed her space and her own time to decompress, so I deliberately avoided bringing up work stuff at dinner or when we hung out. Now I wonder if all I did was inadvertently push her away, making her seek comfort in someone else. I know I was around as much as she needed me, but in hindsight, maybe we both got caught up in the busy work of daily life, chores, groceries, social obligations, instead of actually being with each other, in the moment. I just got back to my car after finishing my heart-to-heart with Karen at the coffee shop. I've got the rest of this weekend to myself. My brother and his wife have been incredibly supportive, but I'm planning to schedule a session with a counselor as soon as possible, just to have someone to talk to. I haven't told my friends or coworkers what's going on, not yet, anyway. Right now, I need to figure out my next step, on my own terms. Update 5. I woke up today thinking I'd just keep my head down, pack the last of my stuff from the apartment, put time on a therapist's calendar, try to exist quietly for a day. That lasted 10 minutes. An unknown number flashed on my phone and I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again, same number. When I picked up, a woman's voice said my name like a question, followed by, "I think my fiancé is the guy." She said his name before I could say anything back, and I felt my stomach drop in that specific way your body does something before your brain can catch up. She found me on Instagram through a tag from last summer, one of those dumb couple selfies in front of a food truck, and then she cross-checked our city and my first name in her fiancé's texts because my girlfriend's name was typed out with mine in one of the messages. She wasn't calling to scream. She sounded exhausted, like she had already screamed at every wall in her place and had nothing left. She told me she found the messages on his iPad last night, after he forgot to take it with him. A notes app full of schedule blocks with initials, shared locations from lunchtime, 2 hotel e-receipts in March and early April. She said there was a photo saved to files that she didn't want to send but described anyway, my girlfriend in a black floral set, one strap glinting in the mirror. I knew exactly which one it was because I bought it for her last Christmas and it vanished mid-March. So no, not all of them went in the trash at work. Some of them didn't make it back home at all. I met my brother for coffee and then we drove to the apartment so I could grab my monitors and a stack of books and whatever else didn't feel radioactive. Karen was there with a manila envelope like a prop in a TV show, my name on the front in my girlfriend's handwriting. The entire thing could have been 2 sentences and it would have hit the same. She said she ended it last week, that he had been pressing for a weekend away in May and she booked a room and then canceled it the next day. She said she hates herself for letting it get that far. There were screenshots printed out, paper copies, like putting ink on it made it realer, calendar invites he sent from a burner Gmail, the hotel confirmation, and the email immediately after, reservation canceled. She wrote that she told him no, and that he came to her car twice in the parking garage to talk, and that she told her boss she felt uncomfortable having him around the gym now. Reading it, my brain kept tripping over the fact that she was collecting proof for me while still keeping the first half of the story hidden from me. She ended with "I'm sorry" 3 times on one line, like she was trying to fill the space. I didn't say anything to Karen because I couldn't find anything that wouldn't bleed out of me, but before I left she said their parents were taking her for the weekend and she thought it would be better if we didn't run into each other. I agreed, because the alternative would have been me walking straight through her without stopping. I drove to urgent care after that. If you've never sat in one of those bright, 2 clean rooms waiting for an STI panel, the air has this antiseptic patience to it, like the building is better at being calm than you are. I told the nurse what I needed and she nodded like she's heard the same sentence rearranged 1,000 times. I stared at a little poster about hydration while she labeled vials with my name. On the way out, my phone buzzed again with an unknown number, and for reasons I still don't understand, I answered it. It was him. He introduced himself like a normal person, like we were going to compare lunch orders. He said he heard I knew, and that he wanted to clear the air, which was the exact phrase he should have never used. He wanted me to understand it was just physical and not about me, and I could feel my pulse in my jaw. He slipped and said my girlfriend's nickname, the one only her family uses, and the sheer intimacy of that coming from a stranger's mouth turned something in me I didn't know existed. I told him to never contact me again and that if he ever went near her car or her building I would make sure security had his name and photo on file. He tried to argue that he also works there technically, like a child measuring inches. I hung up on the sound of his breath starting to get loud. Back at the apartment, I opened a drawer I'd ignored last night and found a small cosmetic bag shoved all the way to the back, like it had fallen behind the runner. Inside were 3 unopened packs of underwear with the tags still on, duplicates of things I'd watched her buy and then never saw again. It wasn't proof of anything I hadn't already learned today, but there was something about seeing a stockpile of it that made the reality sit heavier on my chest. Guilt purchases, adrenaline purchases, who knows? It turns out the worst part isn't a smoking gun, it's 100 tiny stupid artifacts that are all true at once. On the way out, Karen stopped me in the hall and said there's something I should know before I heard it from someone else. Last month there was a pregnancy scare. Negative test, she said, and kept talking because my face must have changed in some new way. She said my girlfriend had called her panicking on a Thursday morning, and then called back an hour later after taking the second test. I don't remember answering. I don't remember walking to the elevator. I just remember sitting in my car and realizing I was breathing through clenched teeth. I got a DM on Instagram tonight from the fiancé again. She said she kicked him out. She wanted to know if I wanted the photos and screenshots, in case. I told her to send me the hotel confirmations and the dates, nothing else. She sent those, and one of them overlapped with a night I took my girlfriend to a late showing of a movie she'd been waiting months to see. We had popcorn for dinner. After the credits rolled, she fell asleep in the car on the way home. My brain keeps trying to rewrite that memory and it won't take. I texted my landlord and asked about removing my name from the lease. He replied that we can transfer it if she qualifies on her own. I told him to send the paperwork to both of us. I booked a session with a counselor for Monday. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and still stared at it like it was going to sprout teeth. I know there are people I should tell, friends who will ask me questions I'm not ready to answer. For now, it's just this: a box of receipts in the passenger seat, a neat envelope on the floorboard with my name on it, a negative test I didn't know to be grateful for in real time, and a voice I never want to hear again sitting silent in my call history. I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. I just know I'm not going back upstairs. I'm not sure when I'll stop counting days by how many pairs went missing. But tonight, for the first time since this started, the numbness gave way to something else, an anger that feels clean, like a line finally got drawn. I can work with a line. Update 6. The fiancé and I met in a diner that looks like it hasn't changed since the first Bush administration. Red vinyl booths, the smell of syrup baked into the tables, a waitress who calls you hon whether you deserve it or not. She slid into the seat across from me with a tote bag and that same hollowed-out look in her face, the one I recognized from my bathroom mirror. She didn't waste time. She pulled an iPad out, opened a folder named with a single letter, and set it so I could see. I braced for photographs and texts and the digital autopsy of my relationship, but what she showed me first was smaller and somehow worse: calendar tiles that lined up like receipts for a life I didn't know about. Thursdays with initials. A little running man emoji tagged to a 12:15 block. The kind of stupid details that feel made up until you can feel their weight in your palm. She said he'd gone to his brother's because she'd kicked him out. She said she wasn't trying to dump everything on me. I told her I didn't need the play-by-play, just the bones. She understood. It was weirdly easy to talk to her, like we had been drafted into the same terrible club and were comparing membership cards. Then she took out something that didn't belong in that diner at all. A little Ziploc bag, the kind you keep buttons in. Inside it was the thin black strap from a lingerie set, a tiny metal slider catching the light. I found it in his car, she said, and I knew exactly where that strap used to sit against a shoulder and how it used to leave a faint line on skin. She asked if I wanted it. I didn't, not really. But she looked like she needed to pass this cursed thing to someone who knew what it was, so I took it and slid it into my jacket pocket. The absurdity of it, contraband across coffee mugs, still hasn't landed. We didn't stay long. On the way out she said she'd already called property management for the corporate park. She found a general number on a leasing sign and got routed to a security office. The man on the phone took down his name and car plate and told her it was a violation to piggyback into facilities you aren't authorized for, that they could revoke access for the gym if he wasn't registered as a guest under someone's membership. She asked if I'd go with her to the security office because she didn't want to be the only one saying his name out loud. I said yes. The security office is a squat building with tinted windows and a vending machine humming in the corner. A woman in a pressed polo with a tiny embroidered eagle on it took our IDs and listened without blinking, just typing. When she asked for photos we both held out our phones like a courtroom exhibit. The fiancé had a picture of his driver's license from their mortgage application. I had a screenshot of his contact photo from the call log that I still hadn't deleted. The guard didn't flinch at any of it. She pulled up a monitor with a grid of cameras that made my stomach cold. The underground garage where she'd said he met my girlfriend twice sat in the top left, and I watched a white sedan reverse too fast into a spot and felt my jaw lock just from the way the brake lights flared. This is really for Ms. Girlfriend's last name, to file formally if she feels unsafe, the guard said, carefully. But we can flag the vehicle and the individual for trespass if he's not registered. We'll notify her building's management. I left the office feeling like I'd just reported a ghost. The fiancé squeezed my arm once in that way strangers do when they have to pretend they are family for a minute. Then we split, her to change the locks, me to a pharmacy I hadn't planned on walking into today. The urgent care portal pinged me with the dull little chime that means nothing good. The patient portal app has this cheerful shade of blue at the top like it's a weather app and not a catalog of ways your body might be failing you. I opened results and there it was, tucked between 2 pending and 1 not detected, a line with my name next to it and the word detected on the same row in neat, unbothered font. I stared until the letter stopped meaning anything and then I called the clinic. The nurse from yesterday recognized my voice. She said she was sorry. She said the prescription would be sent to the closest pharmacy. She said it was common and treatable and then she was quiet in that trained way medical people are when they know the information has nothing to do with the feeling. The pharmacy smelled like dryer sheets and old carpet, a line of people with allergies and a woman buying crayons and me, rehearsing the sentence I would say at the counter while my tongue felt too big for my mouth. When the pharmacist handed me a white paper bag with my name on the sticker, I thought of the manila envelope with my name on it in my apartment, the same neat spelling, 2 different lives. Doxycycline, pale blue tablets like something friendly. Take with a full glass of water. Avoid sun exposure. I bought a bottle of water and swallowed the first one right there next to a rack of last-minute Easter candy, and it felt like gulping a rock. There's a specific humiliation to medicating a thing you didn't ask for. Something in me went very still and then very sharp. Clean anger, yes, but now with an edge I can cut with. Karen texted that she and her parents were taking my girlfriend to her grandmother's for the night. She's not okay, she added, like that fact might change the state of my body, like bacteria cares about intent. I stared at the bubbles and put my phone face down. The fiancé texted the TV blue square of a hotel confirmation that overlapped with the day I'd already circled in my head. She wrote, "I'm contacting his HR Monday." I sent back, "Security flagged him." Neither of us put exclamation points anywhere. On my way back to the apartment for the last load of my things, I dialed building management for her campus. The guard from the office had already emailed the contact at my girlfriend's building. I left a voicemail with my name and told them I had a recording of him calling me and referencing direct contact in the garage. I don't, technically, it's just my memory and the heat in my ears when he said her nickname, but in that moment I wanted the universe to write it down somewhere outside my skull. I didn't expect anyone to be at the apartment. The hallway smelled like cooked onions and someone's perfume. When I unlocked the door, the first thing I noticed was the silence. The second was a grocery bag on the counter with 2 cans of soup and a loaf of bread like a stage set for normal. My monitors looked like strangers. I went straight to the hall closet for a box and my hand brushed against something tucked behind the winter boots, an old shoebox I didn't recognize. It wasn't hers. It was mine from forever ago, but I hadn't kept shoes in it. The lid stuck and then came up with the soft cardboard squeak that makes you think of moving across town. Inside were the letters she'd written me the week we moved in, folded tight into little squares, the kind of thing you find 10 years later and feel lucky about. I didn't open them. I put the lid back on and taped it shut and wrote "Do not open" on the top in black marker like I could legislate my own future. Some things don't deserve to be in the draft long enough to find out if they hurt. My phone buzzed with a number I didn't know and I let it go. It buzzed again and I answered, the way you answer a fire alarm even if you know it's a drill. "I'm outside," a man's voice said, and it took my brain a full breath to register it. He said my name and then he said her nickname again. It echoed weirdly in the empty living room, like he was standing inside my wall. "I just want to talk man to man," he said, like there was any world in which we were men in the same house. I told him if he didn't leave I'd call the police and campus security and send every recording I had to his fiancée's email and his mother's Facebook, and I don't even know if his mother has Facebook. He said I was being dramatic. I said this isn't a TED Talk. He said he loved her voice. I hung up like the phone was hot. I sent Karen a single text, "He is outside," along with a photo through the peephole of a figure on the sidewalk that could be anyone. She sent the family group chat chatter back to me, which, on any other day, would have made me smile. But the message from her dad cut through, "We will take care of it." 10 minutes later my landlord called. Ours is the kind of building where the landlord has opinions about your basil plant and which days the recycling should go out. He told me he'd gotten a call from the front desk that a man was pacing in the lobby arguing with no one. He said the concierge asked him to leave. He did. The relief came like a cold towel on the back of my neck. I packed in a kind of trance. A stack of books, the little ceramic bowl I keep coins in, a cable that had wedged itself under the couch. I didn't look in the drawers I haven't already looked in. I didn't unearth any more underwear. I did open the freezer and throw out a bag of frozen mango that had fused into a single orange fist. When I locked the door behind me I pressed my palm to the wood the way people do in movies when they're leaving a house forever, and then I laughed at myself because it's not even my name on this door anymore. It's paperwork, an email thread with a subject line that sounds like a yawn, lease transfer. In the car, the Ziploc bag with the stray strap sat where the manila envelope sat yesterday. 2 different weights. 2 different stories. My phone showed me the patient portal notification again like a dog bringing the same stick back to your feet. I clicked through to the aftercare instructions and it told me to avoid sexual contact for 7 days after finishing the medication, like there's any universe in which I'm counting down to that right now. It also said to tell your partners. The plural sat there like a dare. I watched a couple push a stroller past my car and I thought about how many times all of us are walking around with our mouths full of things we aren't saying. I drove to my brother's and dropped the boxes in his living room. His wife put a bowl of grapes in front of me like I was a child who had just gotten a shot. The fiancé texted once more. He tried to get access to the garage again. Security called me. They flagged his plate. I typed, "Thank you," and then stared at the 3 words until they looked foreign. I switched my phone off and let the room be silent. Anger felt different today, less fire, more blade. It cut clean through to the part where there are only actions left. I took the second pill with a full glass of water and went to take a shower that wasn't in my bathroom. The tiles were different. The sound of the water hitting the tub was different. It felt like something approximating a new map. Somewhere, in a house I will not go to, there's an empty ring box and a toothbrush that isn't coming back. Somewhere, in a building with a gym I will never step inside, there's a badge flagged with a name I'm not going to write here. In my pocket there is a piece of a strap that doesn't belong to me anymore. The line I drew yesterday has edges now. They hurt when you pick them up. They also separate things from other things with a clarity I didn't think I'd get to have. Tomorrow I email the landlord again. Tomorrow I take the 3rd pill. Tomorrow, if my brain tries to rewrite a memory, I'm going to let it fail. I'm done doing its work for it.